And we're back. Here we are. Thank you for tuning in to the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band Good Time podcast, the only podcast that identifies, biographies, and signifies all of the figures on the Beatles' 1967 album, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Today's episode, we'll be talking about Stan Laurel and Richard Lindner.
Richard Lindner.
Lindner.
I don't even know who that is.
He comes between lunch and dinner.
Well, we watched Sons of the Desert before we came here because I love that movie. And Joe's never seen it.
I've never seen it.
And I wanted to talk about it anyway, and I figured that was a great way of us both being on the same page about it, because then things that I might not think to say about it, you know, you'll have some insight. But that Sons of the Desert was Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, probably their most popular movie. I'm here to talk about Stan Laurel today. He was born Arthur Stanley Jefferson, June 16th of 1890. He was an English comic, actor, writer, and film director. He was also
English.
Yeah, he was.
He sounded it. I don't know if he was putting that on.
No, he was from him and Charlie Chaplin actually were part of like one of the same film troupes at a certain time, and I think they both moved to New York at the same time too. I think I didn't write that down, so I could be flubbing details, but he was familiar with Chaplin, and they started around the same time. A lot of people think of fat guy, skinny guy teams. Laurel and Hardy were one of the greatest, maybe the prototypical. Abbott and Costello did a very, very, very different thing. I feel like some people, because they both wore bowlers, you know, they were both fat guy, skinny guy with bowlers. Mm-hmm. But in Laurel and Hardy, Stan Laurel was the skinny one, but he was shorter than Hardy.
Although you can't tell that on the album cover, which, by the way, if you don't have your album out,
because their heads are just popping up like Pez dispensers.
Precisely.
Yeah. But whereas in Abbott, and also Laurel was the kind of the foil. He was the dummy. You know, even though they were both dumb. Whereas in Abbott and Costello is the fat one, but he's the shorter one. And he's the dummy. And the skinny one is the tall one, and he's the jerk. So the fat guy, skinny guy thing works no matter how you do it. You just got to have a fat guy and a skinny guy, and they got to be kind of different. And it always works.
You got to hit.
But, yeah. That movie, let's just talk about Laurel for a minute, and then I want to talk about the movie. But he'd been making movies since 1917. But then in 1927, after making about 67 film appearances, he teamed up with Oliver Hardy, and they worked together pretty much exclusively until Hardy died in 1957. The interesting thing about how they got together is that they weren't even really supposed to work together. Laurel got hired as a screenwriter and director at Hal Roach Studios, who also did, I think not the Bowery Boys. They did the Little Rascals and Our Gang comedies. Hal Roach did that. But he was going to be a writer-director. And then Oliver Hardy, who was in the film that Laurel was directing, I think the film that he was directing, but they both worked at the studio. Oliver Hardy got injured. He was burned by a leg of lamb and had to be hospitalized. Way to play into stereotypes back in the 1930s. So they brought Laurel in, apparently to replace him.
Didn't Hitchcock write a short story about that too?
I don't know. Did he?
He has a horror. Of course, it's a horror
Alfred
mystery.
Hitchcock?
Yeah.
Is it called Dial L for lamb?
L for lamb leg. No, hit L twice for lamb leg. No, there's a story where
press zero to speak to a lamorator.
Lamorators are standing by. The wife kills her husband with the llama leg and then serves it to the police and the detective when they come over to investigate it.
Oh, really?
I think that's a Hitchcock short story. Yeah.
Wait, it wasn't. He never filmed that.
No, I think it was just one of his
Oh.
stories. Or maybe he filmed it too.
I didn't even know Hitchcock wrote things that he didn't film. I believe you.
Yeah.
That's just something that I didn't even know. But yeah, they weren't even supposed to work together. He had to step in. The short, skinny guy had to step in and take the place of the tall, fat guy in the movie that he couldn't finish. But then they just ended up working together for years. Stan Laurel was married to 4 different women, one of them twice. But it was his 5th and final marriage to, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, Ida Kataiva Raphael in 1946 that would last for the rest of his life. He was 74 years old, February 23rd, 1965, when he died. He always kept his phone number listed in the phone directories, so fans could call him, or anyone that wanted to could call him. And famously, Jerry Lewis was one of those people, called him for some advice early on in his career. Dick Van Dyke also gave Stan Laurel a little ring-a-ding-ding on the telephone. He kept his number listed. And this was like way into his career. So
After he tripped over a lot of ottomans.
I was just
on the way to the phone.
Dick Van Dyke?
Yeah. He was going to call him
sometimes
earlier.
He didn't trip. Sometimes he gracefully danced around or over the ottoman like Fred Astaire.
Like Fred Astaire.
Just like Fred Astaire.
Learn more about him on the first season of this show.
He definitely...
if you're diving in right now, I don't know why you would, but hey, welcome.
He definitely tripped on the way to the phone call in Stan Laurel. And if he didn't, he got all tangled up in the phone cord while he was talking to him. But yeah, I thought that was really cool because I did not know that he was that sweet. I mean, I knew he was probably a cool dude. He was the brains of Laurel and Hardy as well.
From watching Sons of the Desert, he seemed like he wouldn't be the one in charge. He really holds it back that he's
almost
the
like he's a
of it.
humble guy, right? Because you would assume that he would be writing himself all the cool dialogue.
Yeah.
If he was really the brains behind it, he would be coming up with all the best lines for himself. Like, Sugar. Sugar, Stanley locked himself out of his house. Would it be okay if he stayed at our place just until his wife came home? Such a little puss.
We'll talk more about him tomorrow. Next week. Next year. Next time we get in the box.
Well, let's talk about your guy, and then I want to talk about the movie, kinda.
Sure. We'll get back to the Suns.
They might be the only comedy team, or like even just team up, period, that are on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I can't think of any other people that actually like were known for working together.
Only other ones would be the Barry Boys, Leo Gorcey.
But Gorcey's not on
even
the cover.
There. No.
Just
but that was the intention.
Yeah.
So there was that. Quick look at it. Yeah.
Well, we know Stan Laurel didn't need the $400.
Richard Lindner, German, then American painter. He was born in 1901 on 11/11. Make a wish.
Make a wish.
In Hamburg, Germany, where the Beatles actually kind of got pretty famous there. At 29, he moved from Hamburg to Munich. 3 years later, he left there when Hitler was declared chancellor. That was in 1933. Went to Paris, but got caught up in Paris and was actually imprisoned in, for lack of a better term, a concentration camp for a few years. Eventually got out. I couldn't really find out how he got out, but got out by 41 and sailed to New York, where he worked as a magazine and book illustrator. Once again, this guy's a painter. So it wasn't really until then he started doing what he became known to do. And then really didn't start painting until he was about 40. So if you're under 40 out there or just hitting 40 and you think you haven't done it, It's never too late. In 1952, we got the Award of Distinctive Merit for a depiction he did of Immanuel Kant. If you haven't seen any of this guy's work, it draws a lot of sort of abstract and also Rubenesque people, a lot of colors. Again, I can't emphasize abstract.
Kant of the Enlightenment movement?
Of the Enlightenment movement, yeah, the other painter.
Okay.
Yeah. No, of maybe what you're thinking about. I'm thinking of Klimt. Yeah. Kant.
Oh.
Kant. It is Kant.
Kant.
I got Klimt on my mind. I love Klimt.
Is he the one that you were talking about, though?
Kant is canon, yeah. Kant is the guy, Immanuel
Okay.
Kant. Richard Lindner would have been 66 years old on the day in question that this picture was taken. But he was, well, no, he would have been. And he didn't die. He died 2 years after the album came out. So he got to see himself on there. Probably a choice of Peter Blake, being him as the artist. I think all the painters and the artists that are chosen to be on the cover there are mostly his choice.
Peter Blake?
Yeah.
He was the photographer?
Was
he one of
the artistic designer.
The designer.
Of the cover in question.
Why do I remember, I can't think of his name now, but from Quantum Leap, the cool guy that had the little Ziggy calculator. He'd be like, Sam, we gotta, come on. You know who I'm talking about. Dean Stockwell. Why was he a part of this album again? Because he was.
Dean Stockwell?
Yeah.
No, I think he took the picture of Marilyn Monroe.
Did he?
I think is that where he came up from?
I
don't know where you're getting this from.
He had something to do with the album cover. For some reason, I was thinking that he was like a creative director of some kind.
Maybe he took one of the pictures that was used.
I think he did take one of the pictures.
I did in my research for today's episode. I did find a fun website that someone goes into tracking down what the stock photo was for all of these pictures.
Oh,
yeah, it's very fascinating. Do I have it up there still? No, I closed that tab. No, I didn't. Yeah, a little shout out to this. It's just sergeantpeppersphotos.wordpress.com. Pretty intensive look. There's a few that he still doesn't know, and he's looking for your help. Or they are. I didn't read about whose website it is.
What's the name of the website again?
Sergeant Pepper Photos. All one word, because it's a website.
Sergeant Pepper Photos. SGT?
SGT, yeah.
SGT Pepper Photos.
.wordpress.
All right. I need to scroll through that later.
Sergeant Pepper's what?
Yo, we bumping the new Sergeant Pepper remix.
Sergeant Pepper's
S-Peps.
cookbook.
You got the new S-Peps remix.
Got some new S-Pep leak
with the
here, fresh for you tonight in the studio. Speaking of the studio, and I'm glad you pointed out the fire extinguisher. I'd always feel safe in here knowing that that's here.
I don't feel safe here at all. I feel like I'm in a dungeon where people are taking pictures of me having sex but not enjoying it and then getting killed afterwards.
See, that's a safe space for me, so
okay.
I like it. We are here at the Golden Ox Studio in Cleveland, Ohio. And, yeah, it's...
It gets better and better every time.
It does. Now with more taxidermy.
He took the curtains off the barred window.
So we
can still see now. We can see outside now. Before, I didn't know if we were in here for like 10 minutes or like 3 days.
I know it's upstairs, but sometimes it feels like we're downstairs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's dungeonous, but it's more of a treehouse.
Well, that's because Golden Ox Studios exists within a gyroscopic structure.
Tell me more about that.
Well, you saw when we walked in. You weren't wondering what all those like circular things were that were just spinning around each other.
Honestly, I don't remember anything
with the little
about the outside. Once I come in here,
in the middle.
No, see, I retain no memory of what happens outside of here when we sit down. It's just all this.
It's almost as if there's some sort of severance between the working part of your life and the fun part of your life.
It's a good word to use for that.
Almost like someone did an operation so that when you went to work, you didn't remember what it was like at home. And then when you left work, you didn't remember what work was like. And Adam Scott was there.
Interesting.
It's a great show, Severance.
Sounds like a fun fever dream.
It's a good show. You have to have Apple to watch it, though.
You gotta have Apple Records to watch it.
Do you know why the apple has a bite taken out of it?
Because of Adam.
No.
No, Adam didn't eat his own apple.
He should have. There would have been no need to bring a woman into it. Could have taken both of his ribs, and then he would have had a great time.
So of the two we've talked about, Stan Laurel, Richard Lindner, I'm thinking Mae West would talk to Stan Laurel.
She probably knew him,
Oh, probably.
if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know. I feel like Laurel and Hardy was pretty popular. They were not A-listers at that time period. Hal Roach Studios was like a little grindhouse operation.
It was a bit B.
I mean, you saw some of those edits.
Yeah.
Those
well,
were-
I figured that was just because of the time.
That's bad editing. I've seen movies from that same
Thought they
time
just
period
excused it.
that had beautiful editing, fades, the shots would. It's just that they were pumping those movies out. So there would be like a cut on a close up, and then they would cut, and then it would just be like a little bit farther away, same angle, bad cut.
Bad
But
cut.
sometimes that would happen because the film's damaged. But I'm pretty sure they were just pumping those movies out, and then they had to tape them together manually back then.
Oh, yeah. So they probably carpooled.
Yeah,
Maybe.
for sure. Trolley pool.
Ring, ring, ring goes the bell.
Yeah, I think she would go for Stan Laurel. I think Stan Laurel was a pretty fun, clever, witty person.
Without a doubt.
He was the one that wrote most of the bits. Setting: a bustling street in a small town. Stan Laurel and Mae West are walking down the street, arm in arm. Stan is wearing his signature bowler hat, and Mae is elegantly dressed in a glamorous gown. They walk with a slight wobble, indicating their characteristic clumsiness. I didn't know Mae West was known for being clumsy.
No.
Oh boy, Mae. This place sure is busy today.
Well, Stan, you know what they say. Wherever I go, the crowd follows.
They do? I didn't know you were selling hot dogs.
Oh, Stan, you're always such a few steps behind. But speaking of food, I could go for a bite. How about a little lunch?
That sounds swell, Mae. But where should we eat?
Leave it to me, Stan. I know just the place. Follow my lead.
They enter a restaurant. The waiter greets them with a smile.
Good afternoon, folks. Table for two? Oh, darling, we don't need a table. We prefer a booth. Something private, if you catch my drift.
A drift? Is it snowing in here?
Right this way, folks. I have just the booth for you.
They follow the waiter to a booth at the back of the restaurant. Gee, Mae, this is cozy. But why did we need a private booth?
Stan, it's because we're famous. We need to eat incognito.
Oh, I love eating incognito. It's like being a superhero.
You always find a way to make things more interesting, Stan.
The waiter hands them menus and leaves. May, I'm having trouble deciding. What's good here?
Well, Stan, there's only one thing that's truly good. Me. But if you're talking about the food, I'd recommend the lobster.
Lobster. Got it.
Are you ready to order, folks?
I'll have the lobster, please.
And I'll have the same, but make sure it's fresh. I don't want anything less than the best.
Very well. The lobster will be out shortly.
While they wait, Stan starts fidgeting with the utensils on the table.
May, do you know what this thing is for? It's all pointy.
Stan, that's a fork. It's for eating. You use it to spear your food.
Spear? Are we hunting for dinner too?
Oh, Stan, you're a riot. No, just use it to eat your lobster.
Here are your fresh lobsters, folks. Enjoy.
Oh boy, lobster time.
Stan picks up his fork and tries to spear the lobster, but ends up launching it across the restaurant, causing chaos. Oh, Stan, you always find ways to make dinner more adventurous.
Sorry, May. I guess I'm not so good with forks and spears.
That's all right, Stan. Let's just enjoy the mess you've made. We'll have a story to tell. They laugh heartedly as the chaos ensues, making a mess of the restaurant. The scene fades out with Stan and May surrounded by lobster shells and happy chaos. End of sketch.
It sounded more like she was a social worker and he was a mentally disabled client whose finances she was responsible for.
Yeah, and they went to the booth because she didn't want to be seen
Yeah.
with him. That's the privacy she wanted. They had fun, though.
I like that she said that they should enjoy the mess that they've gotten into. It was a nice sly wink to how frustrated Hardy would get with him. See, that wouldn't be funny. That would not be Mae Weston. If it was like that, it wouldn't be funny because she was just coddling him and laughing with him. She was pretending to laugh with him.
She was enabling his stupidity.
Right. Let's set up the first half of the movie because we still got to talk about Oliver Hardy in the next episode, and I feel like it would be fun because if you like what this sounds like, it's free on YouTube. Okay, Sons of the Desert is free on YouTube, and the version that we watched seemed like it was pretty decent quality.
Yeah,
there might even be a better quality upload of it. But yeah, you want to get it started?
Sure, yeah. You stop me when I go too far on it. Or if,
all right.
So they're in this group called the Sons of the Sand, which is kind of like a Water Buffalo or Knights of Columbus sort of social club, and they make an oath that they're all going to go to this party, this convention, this gathering in Chicago, and they basically their wives don't let them, and so they come up with a big ruse to get him to go. This is Laurel and Hardy. They come up with a plan that ironclad, we're going to get to go, and it works.
Hardy pretends to be, I guess, having physical
he's emotionally distraught.
manifestations of emotional distress. Because she had his feet in a bucket full of hot water, and he was just moaning in pain.
And like an ice pack on his head, too.
Yeah, with an ice pack on his head. And she's like, oh, you poor dear, you've had a nervous breakdown.
It's definitely what it is.
But he had all these fever symptoms, all these very obvious fever symptoms. She's like, oh, baby, you've had a nervous breakdown, haven't you? Yeah. So you get a doctor.
Who's not a real doctor.
He's a veterinarian.
Yeah.
And he tells them that the only way that he can get better is if they go to this convention Or no,
No.
if they go, is if he gets some like rest and relaxation in Honolulu.
Specifically.
It has to be Honolulu or he won't get better.
It can't be mountain air. It has to be
No.
tropical air.
Because they were supposed to go to the mountains together. Yeah. Won't the mountains do just as well? Unfortunately, no. The only cure for your husband's malady is a trip to Honolulu.
And whatever
She
the doctor
believes it.
says, the doctor's always right.
Even though he's got a truck full of dogs right out front. There's a truck full of barking dogs directly out front.
He calls the ailment that he has something like canine delirium.
Canis delirious.
Canis delirious, that's it.
Yeah, and when he was checking him, when he was doing his like physical exam, he was like grabbing his lips and pulling them apart to look at his teeth.
Oh.
How do you get him to swallow the pill?
He like pats his cheek or something, or like pats his head. He tells him to sit up also, as if he's talking to a dog.
He puts the pill in his mouth and like holds his mouth shut, but then he like tickles his nose or something, which makes him impulsively swallow.
It was a giant pill, too. It was a horse pill.
That was definitely a pill that was supposed to be taken by a dog.
What was in that pill?
You don't know?
No.
Probably a sedative.
Yeah.
There's a good possibility he shouldn't have survived taking that pill. But they had to make it look real.
Should we tell more about what happens?
Yeah. I mean, oh, yeah. And then they get to the convention.
They get to go. Awesome. Hooray for them. It's worked. And they have a grand old
They
time.
have a great time with a whole lot of douchebaggery. There's ass slapping, but like it's all dudes. In fact, I think
Except for
they
the dancer.
accidentally
No, there's ladies there.
right. But I meant they don't actually slap any ladies' asses, not on purpose. I think one lady gets slapped on the butt, but it's an accident. So they're just doing all of this like gay bro stuff, like not gay bro like stuff, but in the 1930s. What was it, like a cricket bat that they were using?
Thank you, sir. May I have another? Real fraternal.
Were they saying that? Thank you, sir. May I have another?
No, that's from
Oh, yeah, Animal House.
Animal House. Yeah.
Yeah.
They make some phone calls while they're there.
Phony phone calls. At one point, they accidentally call one of their own houses.
Well, I don't know if it's an accident.
It was,
No,
well,
it was a prank. It was
he deliberately pranked his own house.
no. His friend
Yeah.
thought it'd be funny because they come clean to him about the story they did.
They picked a random phone number to call, though. They were calling random numbers, I'm pretty sure. Because he didn't know he was talking to his wife until she said the address. Let's cut it off there.
Bye,
Right?
sugar.
Because you don't know what's going to happen. Bye, sugar.
Oh, but before that, if you're not enthused to watch this yet, there's a musical number. I think right before the phone call.
Yeah. Honolulu Baby. That's a good song.
It's a great little song. Well performed.
I actually
Nice little
enjoyed
dance
the
moves.
ukulele rendition by Oliver Hardy himself, probably to the bigger orchestration that they did earlier on. I thought his version had more of a nice modern indie vibe to it.
I like that it has like a reprise. Really
Yeah.
bookended the movie nicely.
Yeah.
But yeah, watch it. It's only an hour long. You'll,
It's almost exactly an hour long, and it is free. You can't even get in trouble. It's public domain.
and it passes the Bechdel test,
Yeah.
if that's a thing you're concerned about.
Yeah, neither of the ladies were looking for a man.
They both had names.
Well, all of their problems stemmed from men, though.
Yeah, but they have a dialogue that it's not all about.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. The Bethel test just has to have one conversation that's
One
not about men.
conversation with two female characters that have names. It's a pretty low bar, but it's amazing how many movies don't go over that bar. Sons of the Desert
Sons of the Desert.
passes, spreads the butter, passes the test.
Yeah. Wow. I never would have thought. And they were pretty respectful to their wives too. There was a little bit of domestic violence, but it was never towards the women.
No, they were always the butt of it. Who we switching? We got to do that before we say goodnight to the fine folks.
I think we gotta. It's gotta be fair. I think David Spade, who became
Not James
the
Spader?
last time. Well, that's the thing. The last time we were gonna do David Spade, it just turned into James Spader, and then I think that turned into some weird monstrosity.
Dan, I'm really glad you brought this up a minute to make not a correction, because it's already written in stone in your ears. You've heard it. It was going to be David Spade for Hunt's Hall. Yeah, it was Hunt's
Second
Hall,
Bananas.
Second Banana. But then I, in Stan Laurel fashion, malimpropped in a way, and turned David Spade into James Spader. And
also
then
in a very Leo Gorcey kind of way. Leo Gorcey did a lot of malaprops.
All right. Yeah, so it's poetic that happened. But yeah, spoiler from our last season, if you haven't listened, he's holding a bottle of Hunt's ketchup.
Hunt's ketchup, that's right.
Yeah.
James Spader and a bottle of Hunt's ketchup.
So we're bringing back David Spade. I think that's super fair.
Yeah, because we know who Hardy's going to be.
We do.
I mean, I feel
but
like
you don't,
we do.
because you haven't heard the episode yet.
Is that a big surprise? I'm saying Hardy's going to be who. You already know who.
I'm going to bleep it out if you say it.
All right.
And then Lindner, German-American, abstract, weird eroticism painter.
Did we do anything with Giger yet?
I don't think we got Giger. I think we mentioned him before, though.
We've probably mentioned him, but did
and I
we
might
ever...
have pronounced it Geiger.
I think it's Giger. You're in big trouble now, mister. You got it, dude.
What you talking about, Willis?
Whoa. Did I do that?
Every penny makes the water warmer.
I want my $10,000. Or wait, no, it wasn't.
$400.
I want my $400.
Type your favorite child star catchphrase into the comments below, and maybe we'll read them.
You know what I've been hoping for? Because I see a lot of compilations of catchphrases from sitcoms on the internet, but I can't.
No, that's what I call a compilation.
Now that's what I call a catchphrase. But I haven't seen one of Jack Tripper from Three's Company just saying Chrissy over and over in every scene that he's ever said Chrissy. And I feel like that would be really funny if someone put that on YouTube, where it's just like, Chrissy, 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 Chrissy. Because that's what he did. Get a couple Janets in there every now and again, but we really know it's all about Chrissy.
There's a great one of Don Draper just saying, what? What? What?
Is there?
What? Yeah, all just from the first season. Maybe the first two, but just early Mad Men.
I love that.
It's gold.
He just says what over and over?
Yeah.
Isn't there a compilation of all the times Owen Wilson said wow?
That has to be out there.
I've seen lightsaber duels where they replaced all the lightsaber sounds with Owen Wilson saying wow.
There's this fucking short version of The Big Lebowski where just every time they say fuck. And if you've seen the movie enough...
Then they say you, Donnie?
No, I think it's just the... might be the full line if there's a sentence.
Isn't
It's
it fuck
fucking
you,
great.
Donnie? Isn't that the line?
Shut the fuck up, Donnie.
Shut the fuck up, Donnie. Yeah. That's pretty good.
This was pretty good. I think it's a nice place to end at.
Yeah, It is.
Any last words to say about these two before they're
You got it, dude.
packed up?
Did I do that?